Did it go?
Yep.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mickey Doyle, Special Events Manager with the Greater Green Bay Chamber. Today's webinar is closed to the media and we are available after the call for interviews. If you are part of the media, we would appreciate that if you jump off the call at this time. Thank you. If I could ask that you all keep yourself on mute at this time. If you have a question for the presenters, please type them in the comment box and we will get to them during the Q&A portion of the presentation. We know that this is a difficult time to continue with business development, but hopefully after today's presentation, you will find a few ways to keep business development strong in your organization. It is my great pleasure to introduce Barbara Koldos, Market Development Leader at Hoffman, and Melinda Morella-Olson, Director of Strategic Engagement for Imaginasium.
All right, that was us.
Hey everyone. Okay, so I am Barbara, and that is
Melinda.
This is really difficult to try to talk like this, so bear with us. So what are we doing here today? And I think that's the question, and that's the reason why we're all here today is kind of talk about, let's talk about the new normal. Let's talk about how we keep business development strong. I'm going to do a little recap of what happened in March. So what is our new normal right now? If you remember back, March 10th and 11th, that's when UW Milwaukee and UW Green Bay decided to do alternative learning off campus. So today is April 13th. So I'm going to keep reminding you today is April 13th. Then on March 12th, the NCAA decided to cancel March Madness. That's madness. And on March 13th, Governor Evers issued an order to close schools starting March 18th. So again, today is April 13th. So starting the week of March 16th was really week one for a lot of us in this, what we call new normal. And this week, as we're entering into week 5, you know, a lot of us spent the last few weeks kind of just figuring out business, right? Figuring out what are we doing? What is this new normal? What does this new world look like? How are we functioning from home? How are we teaching our kids, those who have kids at home? How does this all look like? We're not allowed to go anywhere. So there's a few of us who are responsible for keeping our pipeline strong. Melinda and I are responsible for business development, keeping the projects going, keeping our projects coming into the pipeline, and then just moving them along that sales continuum. So we reached out to each other and kind of was brainstorming and going, well, what can we do? How are we supposed to do business development while being socially distanced? So we thought, hey, we've been doing this research. We are talking about it, and we're wondering, hey, is anyone else thinking about this or wanting to kind of talk about and figure out ways to do it? So we got together. We said, you know what? Let's see if Mickey would be interested in hosting something with the chamber, and put it all in one spot and share it all out with you, and making sure that at the end of this all, we're, you know, the Northeast Wisconsin, the Greater Green Bay area is stronger than ever. So today we have 10 tips and approaches on how to keep business development strong, and then we have some Q&A and discussion time at the end.
Awesome. So let's jump right into our first, we're kind of calling them tips and ideas. It's not really 10 steps or anything in chronological order. It's just kind of our thinkings on how to keep business development moving forward in this weird time. So the first tip is categorizing your clients list and knowing your audience. So kind of thinking about it in almost like a stop and go like fashion. Red is like no go. These are businesses that are maybe out of business right now and may not survive necessarily, so it's important to be sensitive to what those folks are going through. The yellows kind of move forward cautiously. Maybe there are folks who still need your product or service, but maybe they're a contact that's not as warm, or you don't quite have the relationship yet. And then your green light clients or prospects are folks who maybe you already have a really good relationship with. Maybe you're far enough in the sales process that you're looking to close, and it makes sense to continue sort of business as unusual with those folks. Cold calling in this time and cold emailing, just a word of caution, be careful with your messaging. It's it's a time, and Barbara will talk a little bit more on this later about kind of being sensitive to what people are going through. But I read in an article recently some language that I really like that I want to share with you. So if you're reaching out to someone and it's more of a colder lead, saying something like, I'm sure you've got a relationship with a firm or a company that can help you with your whatever your area of need is at this time. But in the event that you don't, my team and I have some experience in XYZ, whatever your discipline is, that you might find relevant, and speak to the pain point that that type of client is typically going through. You could even share some work you've done on a project related to that discipline or pain point for a client that's similar. So that's that tip. Number 2.
Tip number 2 is be present for your clients. So as Melinda had shared, they're kind of, you've already categorized your prospect or your customer list, kind of do a red, yellow, green. And now you're looking at your yellows and your greens and you're saying, you know what, I need to care. It's caring versus selling at this point in time. And again, just lots of research, lots of articles saying, you know what, it's okay to reach out. It's okay for sales. It's okay for marketing yourselves. But again, it's about the messaging. It's about caring versus selling. It's connecting people as a business resource, even if it's not a resource that you directly have as a product or service. It's about being human beings, making sure that you're solidifying your current relationships, making it authentic, real, and sincere, and acknowledging the fact that things are going to get a little personal. And what I mean by personal is it's okay that, you know, you see pets running around in the background, or you see, you know, their children running into and making like cameos on the screen. It's okay. We're all human. It's time to be patient and be empathetic to each other. A quick tip on how to connect in a meaningful way. Could you create a 10-second video and text it to your clients? You know, someone that is that you have an existing relationship, a good relationship with. You know, just send them a quick 5 to 10 second video. Hey, thinking of you, just letting you know, hope everything is going well, and then just send them that quick text. It's not a pushy way to maintain that relationship and make sure that, you know, you're remaining present for your clients. And then just a couple of other talking points when you reach out to your clients is making sure that it's real and sincere. Sincerely ask them, you know, how are things going? How are you? How's business? How is this affecting you? What can make your life easier? Just let them know that we're in this together and that you're thinking of them. And I think that will go a long way for being there for your clients.
So you'll notice we're talking a lot about our clients, and business development is so focused on the client, their challenge, their pain point. And so staying client focused is going to really help in this time. And you can do that by asking really smart questions and offering real solutions. So things like, are they an essential business? Are they working from home? What new challenges does that bring to them? Maybe, like Barbara said, maybe they're trying to homeschool their kids. Maybe they have 2 people in the home that are working in the home now, and they're trying to, you know, figure out how not to be tripping all over each other. Asking if the initiatives they're working on are still moving forward. Has their attention been moved elsewhere? And if so, is there anything that you can do to help and support, even if it's, like Barbara said, not a product or service that you particularly offer, maybe just putting some brainstorming time together to help them think through a new challenge. How's it impacting their day-to-day, their business, them and their roles? I caution against using just the blanket phrase, I'm here if you need help. I think we're all getting a lot of those emails lately, and we know that people are feeling that way, but try to lead with a solution to a problem that you've heard them share, or a solution that you think they might need to a pain point they might be having. So rather than just let me know if you need anything, or I'm here if you need anything, try and be a little bit more specific and speak to exactly what they are going through based on the answers to some of these questions.
And that leads me to number 4. It's our internal business development. And don't forget that that it's a we thing. So, you know, we need to be present for our internal clients as well. Business development, as most of us are in this role, it's a whole continuum, right? So it goes from your pipeline of bringing in new clients to making the sale, closing the deal, and then actually delivering what it is that you said that you were going to sell. So really, it's a whole continuum. It's a team sales approach. So it doesn't stop once the sale is in-house. And so for my industry, which is the architecture, engineering, construction world, my project managers, my architects still have to deliver the project that we said we were going to deliver before this all happened. So right now, their focus is really on making sure that the project is being delivered to perform and to make sure that what we said we were going to do, we're going to do. So my role in this whole business development continuum right now is, how can I help them? How can I pass along those relevant information that's appropriate to their market, their project? How can I help them with their business development, research, content, and pass along to them as well as to their clients? And maintaining that culture of selling, because again, my project managers right now, they're not in business development on the front end where I am right now. They are just making sure that that project is being delivered. Given that every day things are changing for them. I mean, not even every day, it's changing by the hour for them. So how can I be a cheerleader, and how can I keep the momentum and the culture of selling going for them? Also, creating kind of talking points for them as they're working through with their clients. You know, some things for them, again, it's the how are you, I'm thinking of you. But as they're working on their projects, having them reach out to clients and say, your project is on time, and this is how we're handling it, and this is how we are doing things moving forward. Or conversely, if their projects are not going to be on time, your projects aren't going to be on time, and these are the reasons why it's not going to be delivered on time and how we're handling these things. Then another question they can ask their clients is how they want to be communicated moving forward. Is it through email, phone, and how frequently do you want me to update you on the status of your project? These are those things that, at least in my role in my industry, is very helpful for my technical staff, because again, they're out delivering projects and that's their focus right now, and things are just changing so rapidly that this is how I can help on my end, and on my end with the whole business development continuum.
Awesome. So number 5, I feel like I could do an entire webinar on this topic alone. Just, you know, sales and marketing are best friends, or should be best friends. And so now might be the time for business development folks to really dive into the marketing side of things, whether you have your own marketing team or person or not. Now is a great time to start taking some time to focus on marketing and content. So the whole idea around marketing at this time is providing valuable content for your clients and prospects. So what is a problem that those folks are facing? What is a solution that you can think of that you can maybe package up into a webinar or an article or a series or a diagnostic assessment? Maybe it's just offering a 30-minute consultative phone call to say, hey, I've got some extra time on my calendar. Do you want to grab it and just brainstorm, you know, around a problem that you're facing? There's almost zero, right? I mean, there's the entire in-person lead generation channel is gone right now. There are no trade shows, there are no in-person meetings, there are no conferences. This is an enormous challenge for business development folks, as you probably all know, which is why you're sitting here today. But businesses that become more reliant on digital marketing right now are going to be the ones that really thrive. Having a digital strategy, so thinking through over the next maybe month or so that we're in this, what are the types of things digitally that your company or you specifically can be doing to help put your expertise and your valuable content out in the world, that it can be found and it can solve a challenge that somebody is facing. So taking the time to come up with your digital strategy, optimize your SEO so that people are finding you when they are out seeking content. People are consuming a lot more content right now just because we're in front of our computers so much with the safer at home order. And so taking the time to really maximize that and find a way to be more present digitally when your customers come looking for you is going to be a huge advantage for folks who are doing business development and sales for their organizations. So taking some time to brainstorm content. Surveys right now are actually seeing an uptick in people responding to surveys because again, they're home, they're in front of their computers, they're available. So if surveys are something that you implement as part of your marketing strategy or your customer service or customer acquisition strategies, now is a really good time to be sending out surveys because people are taking them. I think that's all I wanted to say on marketing. Otherwise, I will take the rest of the time to talk about marketing. So I'm not going to do that, but certainly ask questions in the chat. I'll remind you if you have questions at all along the way, since we're about halfway through. Type them in the chat and we'll open it up for Q&A and discussion at the end. But if you've got a little extra time trying to figure out how to solve this business development challenge, it will behoove you to spend some time on digital marketing.
All right, and so kind of along those lines is prepping your tools. And I spoke earlier about being present for your clients and asking your clients how often they would like to be communicated to and how they want to be communicated to. But the question is to make sure that you have the tools available, to communicate with your clients. So you have the who, and now you need the how. How often do they want to be communicated with, and how? So you have your traditional methods, of course, which is text, phone call, emails, but there's also the face-to-face that's more virtual. So there's FaceTime, GoToMeeting, Zoom calls, and Google Hangouts, Skype. And keep in mind that a lot of these, there are free services you can use. There are some limitations. For example, Zoom, you can get a free Zoom account. However, you're limited to the number of attendees and you're limited to 40-minute phone calls. But like Melinda said, if you just have a quick 30-minute jam session with your clients, then maybe a Zoom call might be the best way to set something up. And then of course, your digital media strategy that Melinda talked about is making sure that you have your social media updated. Look at your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Instagram, and maybe build some tactics around those, some goals around those for business development. So look at your LinkedIn and say, hey, I want to reach out to X number of connections from LinkedIn per day, per week. And whether it's something as simple as an email to say, hey, just reaching out to say hi, how are things going? Or congratulations on your job anniversary or your birthday. Again, those human elements, that could be a tactic. I know someone at Hoffman, what they're doing is they're using LinkedIn and they're kind of going through the alphabet. So they're just going, okay, today I'm going to reach out to all of my A connections. Tomorrow I'm reaching out to my B connections. So that's kind of how they're using LinkedIn to reconnect and deepen those relationships with people they're already connected to. And then using LinkedIn, the time right now to maybe update your bio, update what your firm does, figure out how you can add value and add content to LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram right now. So that's kind of how you can use your social media tool right now. And then the next question that I've been getting from some of our clients is, I don't know how to use Zoom. I send them a Zoom link and they're like, I don't know how to do it. So how can you help and be a resource is maybe send your prospects or your clients YouTube videos or send them screenshots. Help them prep their tools as well. So then again, you're seen as a resource, not just for your business, but you're helping them with their business as well.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think another thing, an important thing that Barbara touched on there was also, update your website. If you've been wanting to make some changes for a while, but you just haven't found the right time, if you're looking at your company's positioning and how you're messaging yourself in the market, and this goes a little bit back to the marketing too, but now's the time to do it when you'll come out of this much stronger if you take the time to do it now. All right, number 7, so put the social back in social distancing. This is my favorite because this is my favorite part about business development to begin with, but taking some time to continue the types of activities that were typically done in person, but now just finding a way to do them virtually. So I know a lot of conferences what's what I'm looking for? Conferences and trade shows and stuff are trying to find a way to do them virtually. So continue to plug into those. Maybe if you had client happy hours or client coffee meetings that were supposed to be in person and your prospect feels comfortable doing those virtually, set up a quick Zoom call or something to continue to move those activities forward. The Chamber is doing an amazing job of keeping us all connected any way we can, so plug into those events. And then create your own networking events. If you've got folks that you typically network with on a regular basis or with any sort of frequency, in person, continue to do those types of activities virtually and find ways to continue to connect even though we can't be in the same room. A couple tips on creating your own virtual networking groups or meetings. Decide, what time of day it is and what's appropriate for bring your own beverage, but whether it's coffee or happy hour, there's no reason we can't do that at home. If it's informal, where it's just kind of everybody gets together and brainstorms and talks, you can keep it smaller to maybe 5 or 6, maybe 10 people. More formalized, you can probably do more people because there's an agenda and there's a flow and somebody's facilitating. So you can probably get 10 to 15, maybe 20 people on something that's a little bit more formal. So just kind of be aware that when you try and set these things up, chaos can ensue, right? When you've got 20 people on a screen and nobody's moderating, but go with the flow, be flexible and patient, and just continue to try and do those in-person things, even though we're not together.
You're in person, but not in person.
Yeah, right.
At Hoffman, every Monday morning, we have what we call the Hoffman Huddle. It's kind of where we talk about everything we're doing for the week or the past week. Well, we've created a Hoffman Unhuddle because it's now we're not together. So every Thursday at 3:30, we have a group Zoom, if you will, happy hour that we kind of just get together and get a chance to see each other. So it's that internal business development, right? Because we have to stay connected in culture. So we created our own Unhuddle, Hoffman Unhuddle. So number 8, prepare for that comeback, because you know what, like all storms, the rain will end, right? It'll end at some point. So, imagine it ends tomorrow and just think, what will your clients need first? What is it that our clients, what will they hit the ground running? How will I supply it? Am I positioned to supply it? And think of it as, that brainstorming session by market. Look at the markets that you serve and kind of research and look at the data and goes, which markets after this happens, whether it's a product or service or geographically, are what's going to thrive? What markets are going to thrive after this? And are you in these markets? How will these change the markets that you're currently in? And then look at your product of offerings, whether it's market, geographic, or service-wise. Are you diversified? Are you in the right markets geographically, product-wise, service-wise, for after this? So preparing for that comeback, making sure that you're ready for when the storm ends. How I see it is there is going to be pent-up demand. We're already in week 5, so it's a month now that we're in this. Don't know how much longer we're going to be in this. So in my world, in the architecture, engineering, construction world, there's going to be some pent-up demand. Facilities won't stop running. So there's going to be something that needs to be done, and we have to figure out what is it that needs to be addressed once this is all over with. And I feel as though while there will be a recession, a lot of people are kind of in a good cash position going into this. Now, as it goes further along, we'll see how everyone's positioned after that. But a lot of people say, well, this is kind of like what happened in 2008. But going into 2008, a lot of companies were not in a good cash position. So again, there's going to be pent-up demand. There's potential for good cash position. So how will you address what it is that your clients will need first?
Awesome. My next tip is asking for referrals. So your existing customers are your best source of referrals. We know this. They know how you've helped them. They can speak to how you might be able to help others. They might be able to get you into an industry or a vertical that you maybe weren't already exploring, which can lead to new opportunities. But they are going to be your biggest ally in this. Also, don't forget to return the favor. So if you are working with companies and you can make referrals to them, it's a really nice two-way street win-win. Now's the time to really tap into your existing customer base, those who know and love you and have been working with you and are very happy with the product or service that you're providing. Now's the time to talk about referrals and how you can help one another by sharing referrals. And then just letting them know it's not your intent to go, hard selling on people right now in this time, but they know what you have to offer. And if that would be of value to somebody in their network, now's the time to share it.
All right, so then another way to keep your business development strong is the reallocation of dollars. Like Melinda said earlier, a lot of trade shows have been canceled, a lot of conferences. No longer are we doing face-to-face coffees, lunches. There's no mileage that's being paid out. So how can you support in other ways? How can you take those dollars and reallocate them to make sure that you are still doing business development, but maybe for the greater good of your community or for your industry? So a couple of tips that we have here is maybe provide lunch or coffee to clients or job sites, construction being still up and running. Can we provide lunches to our job sites? I actually heard of someone during a virtual networking event that they are planning to provide lunches for their employees who are working at home. So just reallocating those dollars, business development wise. Another way is to purchase gift cards to local restaurants or coffee shops now, and the ones that you normally frequent, and then just use them later, because at some point, again, the comeback, at some point you'll use them. It's right now, purchasing those gift cards now could help that business along the way. And then, like Melinda said, right now is a great time to bulk up your marketing and your advertising and your messaging. Hoffman, we just updated our radio ads to thank essential workers, and we are encouraging support of local businesses. And I've seen a lot of this on social media, so it's wonderful to see how our community is really coming together for the greater good of our community. But right now, just think of corporate citizenship and corporate social responsibility. Right now is a great time to utilize what your presence for your firm and see how you can help the greater good of us all until we get back into business as usual.
And then 11 is a bit of a bonus. So there's probably every one of us sitting here has that to-do list of things that they've been wanting to do for months, years, whatever it is, that someday I'll get to it kind of stuff. And oftentimes those are administrative or professional development type things. So take some time, enter your business cards that you've gotten at the last 3 networking events into your CRM, maybe catch up on professional development, watch some webinars or read or reread some articles that you've been wanting to get to, but just haven't gotten there yet. Maybe brainstorm potential new prospects who might need your service when this is all over with. And just take some of that think time that maybe we're usually so on the go, move, we don't take that think time. So now is a time to dedicate a little bit to that as well.
And then Melinda and I just want to thank you. We do have some concluding and final thoughts that we want to share with you. There's that quote that says, people may not remember exactly what you did or what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And that's exactly what the time is right now, is they're just going to remember how you made them feel. Were you helpful? Were you resourceful? Were you there for them when they really, really needed you most? Melinda said earlier to ask smart questions and offer real solutions. So right now is the time to listen and solve and not sell and tell. It's a great time to reconnect or connect with those contacts that you have and deepen those relationships, because we're all going through this together. We're all going through the same thing. So it's a good time to do that. And then, Melinda and I joked about this, less time for commuting. So remember that time you spend commuting. I look at it as a gift of time that we're getting back. So what are you going to do with this gift of time? That time you usually would spend in your car going from point A to point B. What are we going to all do with our gift of time to strengthen business development? So I think we're going to open it up to questions now, Melinda.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. We have our first question. It says, hi, Barbara and Melinda. In this time, some organizations are busier than ever. When you get them on the phone screen, they have barely any time. What advice, tips do you have to not only get them to pick up, but more importantly, use their time as valuable for both you and the client as possible?
I guess I'll start, and then Barbara, if you want to tag on or jump in. So without knowing the full context of the question, and thank you for the question, I think having an agenda if possible, if it's a pre-planned call or GoToMeeting or whatever type of technology you're using, having an agenda would be helpful. If it's something that's a little bit more spontaneous and you're just getting them on the phone and now you're like, oh crap, they're on the phone, now what? Maybe already have an idea of what you want to share, but also making sure that you're making it as much about them as possible. People will be more willing to stick around and have a conversation if you get them talking, if it's focused around them and what they're going through. So I don't know if asking smart questions would be helpful on that, or if that would be something that people would find cumbersome because they are as busy as can be. But my tip would be have an agenda if possible that you both know of. And then if it's not a situation where you can have an agenda, maybe make sure that you're very clear on what you want to cover and the questions that you want to ask, and make it about them as much as possible.
I agree, and like I said earlier in the presentation, is asking the client how they would like to be communicated, how frequently they'd like to be communicated. So hopefully, if this is a phone call that you ask for permission to have, certainly the agenda is great. Maybe limiting the time, or at least giving them the time, saying, you know, I'd like to talk to you for 15 minutes. I'd like to talk to you for 20 minutes. I'd like to talk to you for 10 minutes, you know. Then that kind of gives people kind of the, okay, yep, I have 20 minutes, I have 10 minutes, or they can opt out. So I think that's, for me, it's about the communication. It's about asking them if they have the time to talk. And if they don't, then that's okay. And then they don't, because, you know, like you said, we're all busy. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and providing value as much as you can in those conversations. So if you hear something, they say something, but they're like, oh, I don't have time to get into this, I got to go. If you've got a resource or something, whether it's a short article or a webinar, or even something that you've seen somewhere else, feel free to follow up and share with them, letting them know, you know, hey, we didn't get to cover everything today, and I understand that you're busy. Here's a resource that might be able to help you in the future.
All right, we have our next question from Logan. Thanks for the great presentation. I was just in the beginning of planning out a new business when all of this started happening. Now, with so much uncertainty, what do you think are the most important things to focus on for starting a brand new business?
Well, I think that one of the most important things is figuring out kind of your niche, or what your focus is going to be. And getting it ready for the comeback, or once this is all said and done, and at what point can you release that. So not knowing what your business is, you know, let's say you want to open a hair salon, knowing that right now hair salons are not something that's an essential business that's open. You know, are there tips, ways that you can release your business online? For example, can you do YouTube videos? And I'm just throwing ideas out there. Can you use social media and create YouTube videos on, you know, how to do hair or how to cut hair? I mean, because let's be real, a lot of us right now, one thing we cannot do is cut our own hair. You know, so could you do that? Can you start and create that value chain for yourself? So once your business, your physical business can open, you kind of already have a following, and maybe that could help you start your new business now. And ramp it up to when we're back to our normal and you're ready for the comeback.
Yep, excellent advice. I would say make sure that you take the time to figure out what pain point you're addressing in the marketplace, and get really clear on your messaging. It's a blessing that you have the time to do that, because not enough companies take that time. They just jump in, they have something they think people want, and then they get confused about who they're selling to, why they're even selling to these people. And then, like Barbara said, providing some valuable content related to your business now, so that when this is all lifted, you're already that much further ahead.
I hope that helps. Anything else?
Any other questions, Mickey?
I don't have any in right now.
Awesome.
Should we unmute everybody?
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I can.
I just want to say our contact information is below if anyone wants that. Melinda and I are both happy to be resources for it.
Yep.
It's all
Everybody
about
has been
lifting all of us.
unmuted, just so you know. You have the power. If there's anything that you want to ask live or any other tips that you have that you would be willing to share, I'm sure the group would benefit from multiple perspectives. So feel free to share. Don't all talk at once.
This is good.
And if not, that's okay. Like Barbara said, all of our contact information is below. So if you want to continue the conversation offline or email us individually, we're more than happy to answer questions after the fact or engage in any discussion based on what time you have. So
We have a question. What meeting platforms are most people using? Well, for internal and external video communications. And it says many organizations have security concerns with Zoom.
So internally, my company uses Teams. And externally, I've used FaceTime, Facebook video, and Zoom. But I know that Zoom, there's Zoom bombing, I think is what it's called. There's a lot of security issues with that. So I think there's ways to try to mitigate that. But that seems to be the popular one.
yeah, internally we're using Google Meet and GoToMeeting. Externally, I've used, I think, everything at this point. If I'm setting it up, I usually ask if they prefer GoToMeeting or Zoom, because those are the two that I typically use. I've been invited to WebEx meetings as well. So it just kind of depends on who I'm meeting with and what their preference is. If it's a meeting that I have to set up on my end, I would say probably 60% of it, the time it's GoToMeeting, 40% is Zoom.
Awesome.
They're getting lots of responses, lots of Microsoft Teams, Google Teams, Skype, Zoom.
Thanks to those of you who shared what you all are using as well.
Ring Central. Anybody have any other questions or comments?
Awesome.
These are
Well,
so
you know where to find us. If you have any more questions, it's like, okay, bye. What do you do? It's not like you can hang out and chat after the meeting, right? Like if we were all in person, we could just go like stand in the corner and continue to catch up. But certainly if you want to stand in the virtual corner with us, our emails are below. And like I said, we're happy to answer any questions you might have. So thank you so much. And Mickey, is there anything else that you wanted to share? Any announcements from the chamber or anything?
Yeah, so thank you, Barbara and Melinda. We truly appreciate you taking the time to bring us this presentation. You can find more webinars that the Chamber is working on our website under events. The next one is tomorrow morning at 7:30, Power of Networking. So I know you guys talked about networking. That is up for registration right now under events. Thank you all for attending and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'm just grateful my kids didn't jump in.